This handbook describes the various environmental conditions affecting human survival and describes isolated personnel, activities necessary to survive during successful evasion or isolating events leading to successful recovery. It is the fundamental reference document providing guidance for any USAF service member who has the potential to become isolated. Deviations require sound judgment and careful consideration. This publication provides considerations to be used in planning and execution for effective mission accomplishment of formal USAF survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, SERE, training, environmentally specific SERE training, and combat survival continuation training programs. The tactics, techniques, and procedures in this publication are recognized best practices presenting a solid foundation to assist USAF service members to maintain life and return with honor from isolating events. Most IP will not have a choice of survival location. The ease or difficulty in maintaining life and honor and returning are dependent on the types and extremes of the climate, terrain, and life forms in the immediate area. The four major climate groups are designated as tropical, dry, warm temperate, and snow and ice climates. Additionally, from a SERE perspective, IP may need to deal with specific circumstances within each climate such as open sea, coastal, urban, evasion, and captivity. Tropical climates. Average temperature of each month is above 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. These climates have no winter season. Annual rainfall is large and exceeds annual evaporation. Dry climates. Potential evaporation exceeds precipitation on the average throughout the year. No water surplus, hence, no permanent streams originate in dry climate zones. Warm temperate climates. Coldest month has an average temperature under 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit, but above 26.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The warm temperate climates thus have both a summer and winter season. Snow and ice climates. Snow climates coldest month has an average temperature under 26.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Average temperature of warmest month is above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice climates average temperature of warmest month is below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. These climates have no true summer. Some people think of the tropics as an enormous and forbidding tropical rainforest through which every step taken must be hacked out and where every inch of the way is crawling with danger. Actually, much of the tropics are not rainforest. The tropical area may be rainforest, mangrove or other swamps, open grassy plains, or semi-dry brushland. The tropical area may also have deserts or cold mountainous districts. There is in fact, a variety of tropical climates. Each region, while subject to the general climatic condition of its own zone, may show special modifications locally. Each general climate is a whole range of basic minor climates. In all their diversity, the climates of the tropics have the following in common. An almost constant length of day and night, a length that varies by no more than half an hour at the equator to 1 hour at the limits of the tropics. As a result, the plant life thus has an evenly distributed period of daylight throughout the year. Temperature variation throughout the tropics is minimal -9 degrees Fahrenheit to 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Average temperature of each month is above 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. These climates have no winter season. Annual rainfall is large and exceeds annual evaporation. There is no systematic pattern of major tropical landforms. There are high rugged mountains, such as the Andes of South America, karst formations as in Southeast Asia, plateaus like the Deccan of India, hilly lands like those which back the Republic of Guinea in Africa, and both large and small plains like the extensive one of the upper Amazon River or the restricted plain of the Irrawaddy River in Burma. The arrangement of all these landforms is part of the pattern of the larger land masses, not of the tropics alone. The jungles in South America, Asia, and Africa are more correctly called tropical rainforests. These forests form a belt around the entire globe, bisected somewhat equally by the equator. However, the tropical rainforest belt is not a continuous one, even in any of the various regions in which it occurs. Usually it is broken by mountain ranges, plateaus, and even by small semi-desert areas, according to the irregular pattern of climate which regulates the actual distribution of rainforest. Some of the leading characteristics of the tropical rainforest common to those areas in South America, in Asia, and in Africa, are: temperatures average close to 80 degrees Fahrenheit for every month. Vegetation in the rainforest consists of separate 3 levels of foliage. High rainfall, 80 inches or more, distributed fairly evenly throughout the year. Areas of occurrence lie between 23.5 north and 23.5 south latitudes. Evergreen trees predominate, many have large girths up to 10 feet in diameter, with thick, leathery leaves. Vines, lianas, and air plants, epiphytes, are abundant. Herbs, grasses, and bushes are rare in the understory. Uniformity. Tree bark thin, green, smooth and usually lacking fissures. The majority of plants that grow in the forest of the rainy tropics are woody and are similar in size and dimensions of trees. Trees form the principal elements of the vegetation. The vines and air plants that grow on the trunks and branches of trees are woody. Grasses and herbs, which are common in the temperate woods of the United States, are rare in the tropical rainforest. The undergrowth consists of woody plants, seedling and sapling trees, shrubs, and young woody climbers. The bamboos, which are really grasses, grow to giant proportions, 20 to 80 feet high in some cases. Bamboo thickets in parts of some rainforests are very difficult to penetrate. The plants that produce edible parts in the jungle are often scattered, and require searching to find several of the same kind. A tropical rainforest, Figure 8.2, has a wider variety of trees than any other area in the world. Scientists have counted 179 species in one 8.5-acre area in South America. An area this size in a forest in the United States would have fewer than 7 species of trees. The average height of the taller trees in the rainforest is rarely more than 150 to 180 feet. Some trees in the tropical rainforest attain 300 feet in height, but this is extremely rare. Trees more than 10 feet in diameter are also rare in the jungle. The trunks are, as a rule, straight and slender and do not branch until near the top. The bases of many of the trees in the rainforest have plank buttresses, flag-like outgrowths, which are common in all tropical forests. The majority of mature tropical trees have large, leathery, dark green leaves which resemble laurel leaves in size, shape, and texture. The general appearance is monotonous and large. Strikingly colored flowers are uncommon. Most of the trees and shrubs have inconspicuous flowers, often greenish or whitish in color. In the Americas, the largest continuous mass of rainforest is found in the basin of the Amazon River. This extends west to the lower slopes of the Andes and east to the Atlantic coast of the continent. It is broken only by relatively small areas of savanna and deciduous forest. This great South American rainforest extends south into the region of the Gran Chaco, south-central South America, and north along the eastern side of Central America into southern Mexico and into the Antilles chain of the West Indies. In the extreme northwest of South America, Ecuador, Colombia, there is a narrow belt of rainforest, separated from the Amazonian forest by a wide expanse of deciduous forest, extending from about latitude 6 degrees south to a little beyond the Tropic of Capricorn. The distribution of rainforest in Central America is perhaps less well known than any other major tropical region. The main areas are below the 500-foot elevation. In Africa, the largest area of rainforest lies in the Congo Basin and extends westward into the Republic of Cameroon. As a narrow strip, the forest continues still farther west, parallel to the Gulf of Guinea, through Nigeria and the Gold Coast of Liberia and Guinea. Southward from the Congo Basin, the forest extends towards Rhodesia. In the eastern tropics, The rainforest extends from Ceylon and western India to Southeast Asia and the Philippines, as well as through the Malay archipelago to New Guinea. The largest continuous areas are in New Guinea, the Malay Peninsula, and the adjoining islands of Sumatra and Borneo, where the Indo-Malayan rainforest reaches its greatest luxuriance and floral wealth. In India, the area of rainforest is not large, but it is found locally in the western and eastern Ghats, coastal ranges, and, more extensively, in the lower part of the eastern Himalayas, the Khasur Hills, and Assam. In Burma and Southeast Asia, the rainforest is developed only locally, the principal vegetation being the monsoon forest. The monsoon forest is a tropical type which is partly leafless at certain seasons. In the eastern Sunda Islands from western Java to New Guinea, the seasonal drought, due to the dry east monsoon from Australia, is too severe for the development of a rainforest, except in locally favorable situations. In Australia, the tropical rainforest of Indo-Malaya is continued south as a narrow strip along the eastern coast of Queensland. Rainforest also extends into the islands of the western Pacific, Solomon, New Hebrides, Fiji, Samoa, etc. In character, the semi-evergreen seasonal forest in Central and South America and Africa corresponds essentially to the monsoon forest of Asia. Characteristics of the semi-evergreen forest are: 2 stories of tree strata, upper story 60 to 80 feet high, lower story 20 to 45 feet high. Large trees are rare, average diameter about 2 feet. Seasonal drought causes leaf fall, more in dry years. The peculiar distribution of the rainy season and the dry season which occurs in the countries bordering the Bay of Bengal in southeastern Asia brings on the monsoon climate. The monsoons of India, Burma, and Southeast Asia are of 2 types. The dry monsoon occurs from November to April, when the dry northern winds from Central Asia bring long periods of clear weather with only intermittent rain. The wet monsoon occurs from May to October, when the southern winds from the Bay of Bengal bring rain, usually in torrents, that lasts for days and often weeks at a time. During the dry season, most leaves drop completely off, giving the landscape a wintry appearance, but as soon as the monsoon rains begin, the foliage reappears immediately. Chief characteristics of the tropical scrub and thorn forest are: definite dry season, with wet season varying in length from year to year. Rains appear mainly as downpours from thunderstorms. Trees are leafless during dry season, average height is 20 to 30 feet with tangled undergrowth in places, figure 8.3. Ground is bare except for a few tufted plants in bunches, grasses are not common. Plants with thorns are most prominent. Fires occur at intervals. General characteristics of the savanna include the following. Savannas lie wholly within the tropical zone in South America and Africa. The savanna looks like a broad, grassy meadow with trees spaced at wide intervals. The grasses of the tropical savanna often exceed the height of a man. However, none of the savanna grasses are sod-forming in the manner of lawn grasses, but are bunch grasses with a definite space between each grass plant. The soil in the savanna is frequently red. The scattered trees usually appear stunted and gnarled like old apple trees. Palms may be found on savannas. For the most part, the vegetation is of the bunch grass type. A long, dry season alternates with a rainy season. In these areas, both high and low grasses are present. Bright-colored flowers appear between the grass bunches during the rainy season. The grain from the numerous grasses are useful as survival food, as well as the underground parts of the many seasonal plants that appear within following the rains. The high-grass tropical savanna of Africa is dominated by very tall, coarse grasses which grow from 5 to 15 feet high. Unless the local populace burns the grass during the dry season, the savanna becomes almost impenetrable. This type of savanna occurs in a broad belt surrounding the tropical rainforest and extends from western Africa eastward beyond the Nile River. From the Nile, it extends southward and westward. The tropical bunchgrass savanna comprises the greatest part of the African savanna, consisting of grasses about 3 feet tall. The African savanna has both dwarf and large trees. The most renowned of these large trees is the monkey-bread or baobab. The abundance of climbing plants is one of the characteristic features of rainforest vegetation. The great majority of these climbers are woody, and many have stems of great length and thickness. Stems as thick as a man's thigh are not uncommon. Some lianas cling closely to the trees that support them, but most ascend to the forest canopy like cables or hang down in loops or festoons. In the rainforest, there is no winter or spring, only perpetual midsummer. The appearance of the vegetation is much the same at any time of year. There are seasons of maximum flowering during which more species bloom than at any other time, and also seasons of maximum production of young leaves. Plant growth and reproduction is continuous, and some flowers can be found at any time. The margins of a tropical rainforest clearing and areas around abandoned dwellings abound in edible plants. However, in the center of the virgin rainforest, trying to find food is more difficult due to accessibility. The lofty trees are so tall that fruits and nuts are generally out of reach. Some of the available food plants in the rainforest include the Indian or tropical almond, wild fig, breadfruit, rice, rattan palm, and taro. There are many other edible plants in this environment that should be researched through environmental study of your area of operation. Plant foods of the semi-evergreen seasonal forest include the banana, bamboo, chestnut, mango, water lily, and rose apple, but there are many others available. Potential IP should conduct study of their out to identify additional plants available for sustenance. Within the tropical scrub and thorn forest areas, the IP will find it difficult to get food plants in the dry season. During the height of the drought period, the primary kinds of foods come from the tubers, bulbs, nuts, gums, seeds and grains. During the rainy season in the tropical scrub and thorn forest, plant food is considerably more abundant. During this time, IP should look for the plants such as the St. John's bread, wild caper, and air potato. Many of the food plants found on the savanna are also found in other vegetation areas. Some examples include the wild apple, wild chicory, and water plantain. The tropics abound in animal life. The tremendous varieties of animal species found in tropical areas throughout the world preclude discussions of each animal. It is essential that the survivor realize that just as people have an inherent fear of some animals, most animals also fear people. With some exceptions, animals of the tropics will withdraw from any encounter with humans. Being primarily nocturnal animals, most will never be seen by the survivor. By becoming familiar with the wild inhabitants of the tropics, the survivor will better understand this type of environment and will respect, not fear, the surroundings in which survival takes place. All tropic areas have members of the pig family. By habit, pigs are gregarious and are omnivorous in diet. They will eat any small animals they can kill, although they feed mainly on roots, tubers, and other vegetable substances. The most common species found in the Old World tropics are the peccary, the Indian wild boar, the babirusa of Celebes, and the Central African giant forest hog. In Central and South American tropics, peccaries are common. These pigs are represented by two species, the white-lipped peccary and the collared peccary. Both are grizzled black color, distinguishable by markings from which they derive their names. The white-lipped peccary, the larger of the two, height of approximately 18 inches, is black with white under the snout, and has the reputation of being the more ferocious. The collared peccary, reaching a height of 14 inches, is identified by the white or gray band around the body where the neck joins the shoulder. The collared peccary often travels in groups of 5 to 15. While alone, they are not particularly dangerous, but a pack can effectively repel any enemy and can make short work of a jaguar, cougar, or human. Both types of peccaries have musk glands which are located 4 inches up from the tail on the spine. This gland must be removed soon after the animal is killed, Otherwise, the flesh will become tainted and unfit for consumption. Tropical areas harbor many species of reptiles and amphibians. Most of them are edible when skinned and cooked. Hazards from these animals are mostly imagined, however, some are venomous or dangerous if encountered. Individual species of Crocodilidae family, alligators, crocodiles, caiman, and gavials, are usually only abundant in remote areas away from humans. Most dangerous are the saltwater crocodiles of the Far East and the Nile crocodiles in Africa. Poisonous snakes, while numerous in the tropics, are rarely seen and pose little danger to the wary survivor. There are no known poisonous lizards in the tropics. Several species of frogs and toads contain poisonous skin secretions. The large, pantropic toad, Phomeranus, exudes a particularly irritating secretion if handled roughly. Aside from skin irritations, these amphibians pose little danger to humans, unless the secretion gets into the eyes, where it may cause blurred vision, intense burning, and possible blindness. Tropic areas also have a large number of the various species of mice, rats, squirrels, and rabbits.
Deer are found in most jungle areas, however, their population is normally small. In the Asian jungles, several species of deer frequent the low, marshy areas adjacent to rivers. In the Central and South American jungles, two species of deer are most common. The jungle species is found in thick upland forests. It is much smaller than the North American species and seldom attains a weight of more than 80 pounds. Another deer found in the Central and South American jungles is the brocket or jungle deer. This small reddish-brown deer, which attains a height of about 23 inches, is extremely shy and is found mostly in dense cover since it has no defense against other animals. The real dangers lie in the insects located in the jungle, which can pass on diseases or parasite. Malaria is transmitted by mosquitoes, which are normally encountered from late afternoon until early morning. Guard against bites by camping away from swamps on high land and sleep under mosquito netting, if available. Otherwise, use mud on the face as a protection against insects. Wear full clothing, especially at night, and tuck pants into the tops of socks or shoes. Wear a mosquito head net and gloves. Take anti-malaria tablets, if available. According to directions, the greatest number of ant species is found in the jungle regions of the world. Nesting sites may be in the ground or in the trees. Ants can be a considerable nuisance, especially if near a campsite. They inflict pain by biting, stinging, or squirting a spray of formic acid. Before selecting a campsite, a close check of the area should be made for any nests or trails of ants. Ticks may be numerous in many vegetated areas. Use a protected area and undress often, inspecting all parts of the body for ticks, leeches, bedbugs, and other pests. If there are several people in the group, examine each other. Fleas are common in dry, dusty buildings. The females will burrow under the toenails or into the skin to lay their eggs. Remove them as soon as possible. In India and southern China, bubonic plague is a constant threat. Rat fleas carry this disease, and discovery of dead rats usually means a plague epidemic in the rat population. Fleas may also transmit typhus fever, and in many parts of the tropics, rats also carry parasites which cause jaundice and other fevers. Keep food in rat-proof containers or in rodent-proof caches. Do not sleep with any food in the shelter. In many parts of the Far East, a type of typhus fever is carried by tiny red mites. These mites resemble the chiggers of southern and southwestern United States. They live in the soil and are common in tall grass, cut over jungle, or stream banks. When a person lies or sits on the ground, the mites emerge from the soil, crawl through clothes, and bite. Usually people don't know they have been bitten, as the bite is painless and does not itch. Mite typhus is a serious disease, and the survivor should take preventive measures to avoid this pest. The survivor should clear the camping ground and burn it off, sleep above the ground, and treat clothing with insect repellent. Leeches are primarily aquatic, and their dependence on moisture largely determines their distribution. The aquatic leeches are normally found in still, freshwater lakes, ponds, and water holes. They are attracted by disturbances in the water and biochemical scents. Land leeches are quite bloodthirsty and easily aroused by a combination of odor, light, temperature, and mechanical sense. These leeches are the most feared of all since they may enter air passages from which they cannot escape once they have fed and become distended. Normally, there is little pain when leeches attach themselves, and after they fill with blood, they drop off unnoticed. Some leeches, living in springs and wells, may enter the mouth or nostrils when drinking and may cause bleeding and obstruction. Spiders, scorpions, hairy caterpillars, and centipedes are often abundant. The survivor should shake out shoes, socks, and clothing and inspect bedding morning and evening. A few spiders have poisonous bites which may cause severe pain. The black widow and the brown recluse spiders are venomous and should be considered very dangerous. The large spiders called tarantulas rarely bite, but if touched, the short, hard hairs which cover them may come off and irritate the skin. Centipedes bite if touched and their bite is like that of a wasp's sting. Avoid all types of many-legged insects. Scorpions are real pests as they like to hide in clothing, bedding, or shoes and strike without being touched. Their sting can cause illness or death. Density of human population varies with the climate and subclimates. Cultivation is difficult in areas of tropical rainforests along the equator. The torrential rains leach out the soil and weeds grow rapidly. Consequently, cultivated food sources must be supplemented by game and other products of the forest. Villages are usually scattered along rivers since movement is easier by water than through the dense forest. Numerous people are also located along coastal areas where farming takes place and people can obtain food from the sea.
Dry climates are generally thought of as hot, barren areas that receive scanty rainfall. Rainfall is limited, but dry climates are not barren wastelands and many kinds of plants and animals thrive. Most deserts are located between the latitudes of 15 and 35 degrees on each side of the equator and are drier regions where the annual evaporation rate exceeds the annual precipitation rate, generally less than 10 inches of rain annually. Extremes of temperature are as characteristic of deserts as is lack of rain in great distances. Hot days and cool nights are usual. A daily low-high spread of 45 degrees Fahrenheit in the Sahara Desert and a 25 degrees Fahrenheit to 35 degrees Fahrenheit difference in the Gobi Desert is the rule. The difference between summer and winter temperatures is also extreme. Deserts occupy nearly 20% of the Earth's land surface, but only about 4% of the world's population lives there. The term desert is applied to a variety of areas. There are alkali deserts, rock deserts, and sand deserts. Some are barren gravel plains without a spear of grass, a bush, or cactus for 100 miles. In other deserts, such as the Sonora Desert in southern Arizona, there are grasses and thorny bushes where camels, goats, or even sheep find a subsistent diet. Anywhere they are found, deserts are places of extremes. They can be extremely dry, hot, cold, and often devoid of plants, trees, lakes, or rivers. Most important to the survivor is the extremely long distance, between water sources. There are many desert areas and climatic characteristics and seasonal variations of world deserts. The Sahara is the Earth's largest desert. It stretches across North Africa from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea and from the Mediterranean and the Sahara Atlas Mountains in the north to the Niger River in tropical Africa. It consists of 3 million square miles of level plains and jagged mountains, rocky plateaus, and graceful sand dunes. There are thousands of square miles where there is not a spear of grass, not a bush or tree, nor a sign of any vegetation. But Sahara oases, low spots in the desert where water can be reached for irrigation, are among the most densely populated areas in the world. Date groves and garden patches supporting 1,000 people per square mile are surrounded by barren plains devoid of life. Only 10% of the Sahara is sandy. The greater part of the desert is flat gravel plain from which the sand has been blown away and accumulated in limited areas forming dunes. There are rocky mountains rising 11,000 feet above sea level, and there are a few depressions 50 to 100 feet below sea level. The change from plain to mountain is abrupt in the Sahara. Mountains generally go straight up from the plain like jagged skyscrapers from a city street. Sharp rising mountains on a level plain are especially noticeable in many desert landscapes because there is no vegetation to modify that abruptness. The lack of trees or bushes makes even occasional foothills appear more abrupt than in temperate climates. Some geographers consider the Arabian Desert as a continuation of the Sahara. 500,000 square miles in area, the Arabian Desert covers most of the Arabian Peninsula except for fertile fringes along the Mediterranean Sea, Red Sea, Arabian Sea, and the valleys of the Tigris-Euphrates rivers. Along much of the Arabian coastline, the desert meets the sea. There is more sand in the Arabian Desert than in the Sahara, and there are fewer date grove oases. These are on the east side of the desert at Qatif, Afyuf, and Medina. Also, there is some rain in Arabia each year, in contrast to the decades in the Sahara that pass without a drop. Arabia has more widespread vegetation, but nomads find scanty pasture for their flocks of sheep and goats and must depend on wells for water. Oil is carried across the desert in pipelines which are regularly patrolled by aircraft. Pumping stations are located at intervals. All these evidences of modern civilization have increased the well-being of the desert people and, as a result, chances for a safe journey afoot. However, the desert of Arabia is rugged, and native Arabs still get lost and die from dehydration, as used here. Gobi means only the 125,000 square mile basin or saucer-like plateau north of China, which includes Inner and Outer Mongolia. On all sides of the Gobi, mountains form the rim of the basin. The basin itself slopes so gently that much of it appears to be a level plain. The Gobi has rocks, buttes, and numerous badlands, or deeply gullied areas. Figure 8.12. For 100 miles or so around the rim of the Gobi, there is a band of grassland. In average years, the Chinese find this to be a productive farmland. In drought years, agriculture retreats. Moving toward the center of the Gobi, there is less and less rainfall, soil becomes thinner, and grass grows in scattered bunches. This is the home of the Mongol herdsmen. Their wealth is chiefly horses, but they also raise sheep, goats, camels, and a few cattle. Beyond the rich grassland, the Gobi floor is a mosaic of tiny pebbles which often glisten in sunlight. These pebbles were once mixed with the sand and soil of the area, but in the course of centuries, the soil has been washed or blown away and the pebbles have been left behind as loose pavement. What rain there is in the Gobi drains toward the basin, almost none of it cuts through the mountain rim to the ocean. There are some distinct and well-channeled watercourses, but these are usually dry. Many are remnants of prehistoric drainage systems. In the east, numerous shallow salt lakes are scattered over the plain. They vary in size and number with the changes of rainfall in the area. Sand dunes are found in the eastern and western Gobi, but these features are not as pronounced as they were in certain sections of the Sahara Desert. The Gobi is not a starkly barren wasteland like the Sahara Desert. Grass grows everywhere, although it is often scanty. Mongols live in collective-type farm systems and habitations instead of being concentrated in oases. More than one-third of Australia's total area is desert. Rainfall in the area is unpredictable with an average of less than 10 inches per year. There are 3 connecting deserts which occupy Western Australia and one desert located in the center of the continent. They are the Great Sandy Desert, Great Victorian Desert, Gibson Desert, and Simpson-Arunta Desert. The 3 largest deserts, Sandy, Victoria, and Arunta, are of the sandy type, held in place by vegetation. The Gibson in the western portion is a stone-type desert. Most of the deserts of Australia have elevations of 1,000 to 2,000 feet. Generally, there are 2 regions of desert in South America. The first, and by far the largest, is along the west coast, beginning in the southern part of Ecuador, extending the entire coastline of Peru, and reaching nearly as far south as Valparaiso in Chile. This region, of about 2,000 miles in length and approximately 100 miles in width, is classified as true desert. Even so, along the shoreline of Peru as far south as Africa and inland a few miles, there is often a low cloud or misty fog layer. The layer is approximately 1,000 feet thick and produces a fine drizzle. Because of this frequent cloud cover and other phenomena, The temperature along the coastal desert is remarkably cool, averaging about 72 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer daytime and about 55 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter daytime. From about 30 degrees south, the cloud cover does not exist and this region may truly be called rainless. The rare and uncertain showers are valueless for cultivated vegetation. Behind the coastal ranges in the higher elevations, the dryness is at a maximum. In the nitrate fields of the Great Atacama Desert, the air is very dry and the slightest shower is very rare. Here the summer daytime temperatures are from 85 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The second desert region is entirely in Argentina, east of the Andes, extending in a finger-like strip from about 30 degrees southwest to about 50 degrees south. This region is approximately 1,200 miles long and 100 miles wide. In this highly dissected plateau region, the temperature ranges from a yearly average of 63 degrees Fahrenheit in the north to 47 degrees Fahrenheit in the south. The average annual rainfall pattern is from about 4 inches in the north to about 6 inches in the south. Southwest deserts of the United States and Mexico have 4 major subdivisions. Great Basin: the basin between the Rocky Mountains and the Sierra Nevada Cascade Ranges of southern Nevada and western Utah. Mojave Desert: southwestern California. Sonora Desert: southeastern California across southern Arizona into the southwest corner of New Mexico and from Sonora and Baja California, into Mexico. Chihuahua Desert lies to the east of the Great Sierra Madre Occidental, spreading north into southwest Texas, southern New Mexico, and southeast corner of Arizona. The flatlands with scanty vegetation and abruptly rising buttes of our southwest are reminders of both the Gobi and Sahara. But the spectacular rock wall canyons found in the southwest have few counterparts in the deserts of Africa and Asia. The gullied badlands of the Gobi resemble similar formations in both the southwest and the Dakotas, but our desert rivers, the lower Colorado, lower Rio Grande, and tributaries such as the Gila and the Pecos, have a more regular supply of water than is found in Old World deserts. The Nile and Niger are, in part, desert rivers but get their water from tropical Africa. They are desert immigrant rivers, like the Colorado, which collects the melting snows of the southern Rockies, and gains sufficient volume to carry them through the desert country. In general, the southwest deserts have more varied vegetation, greater variety of scenery, and more rugged landscape than either the Gobi or the Sahara. In all 3 areas, it is often a long distance, between water sources. Death Valley, a part of the Mojave lying in Southern California, probably has more water holes and more vegetation than exist in vast stretches of the Sahara. The evil reputation of the valley appears to have been started by unwise travelers who were too terrified to make intelligent searches for food and water. The dryness of the Death Valley atmosphere is unquestioned, but it lacks the vast barren plains stretching from horizon to horizon in the Sahara. Compared to the Sahara, the desert country of southwestern United States and Mexico sometimes looks like a luxuriant garden. There are many kinds of cactus plants in the desert, but these are not found in either the Sahara or Gobi. This desert is located in the southern part of Africa. The wasteland covers about 200,000 square miles and lies about 3,000 feet above sea level. Some parts are largely covered with grassland and scrubby trees. The climate is similar to that of the Atacama Peruvian desert of South America. There are some common xerophytes plants, those plants that can live with a limited water supply, which are found in the major deserts of the world. Some examples would be the cactus family, wild onions, tulip, tubers, shrubs, dates, and other succulent plants. More specific information on procurement, preparation, and edibility can be found in the sustenance chapter.
There are over 5,000 species of birds, reptiles, mammals, and insects found in desert areas. The raven, dove, woodpecker, owl, and hawk are common bird species. Reptiles such as lizards and snakes are numerous due to their adaptation to desert areas and ability to conserve body fluids. Many types of mammals live in desert areas and are primarily found near water sources. Using many of the same survival techniques as local animal life can increase the chances of successful survival. Humans are greatly influenced by the presence of water, and they live close to rivers, wells, cisterns, or oases. For example, in the Sahara Desert, the people inhabiting this area are located near about 50 desert oases and small coastal cities. In the Gobi Desert, the Mongols live in scattered camps and move from one well to the next as they travel. In the southwest deserts of America, the population is greater along the Colorado and Rio Grande rivers. The temperate zone is the area or region between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle, and between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle. The latitudes which comprise the temperate zone are 23.5 north and south latitude to 66.5 north and south latitude. There are two main types of climate which comprise the temperate group: a mild type, dominated by oceanic or marine climate, and a more severe one called continental climate. The temperate oceanic climate is the result of warm ocean currents where the westerly winds carrying moisture have a warming effect on the landmass. This oceanic type climate cannot develop over an extensive area on the eastern or leeward side of large continents in the middle latitudes. The extended effect of the ocean climate can be limited by mountain ranges. Such is the case with the Olympic, Cascade, and Rocky Mountains. As the oceanic weather system moves across the Olympic Mountains, it drops nearly 300 inches of precipitation annually. On the windward side of the Cascades, the annual precipitation ranges from 80 to 120 inches annually. In contrast, the region from the leeward side of the Cascades is a relatively dry area, receiving between 10 to 20 inches precipitation annually. As the system moves across the Rocky Mountains, most of the remaining moisture is lost. The temperate continental climate is a land-controlled climate which is a product of broad middle-latitude continents. Because of this, the continental climate is not found in the southern hemisphere. This type of climate is very characteristic of the leeward side of mountain barriers and eastern North America and Asia. These areas are associated with dry interiors since there are few major warm water sources available for formation of water systems. The average temperature in the winter and summer are not only extreme but also variable from one year to the next. The severe winter temperature is caused by the polar airflow toward the equator, and neither winter nor summer temperatures are moderated by the effects of large water masses, oceans. The climate within the temperate zone varies greatly in temperature, precipitation, and wind. The temperate, mid-latitude, zone is divided into four major climate zones which are controlled by both tropic and polar air masses. The humid subtropical zone is located generally between 20 and 30 degrees north and south latitude. This climate also tends to occur on the east coast of the continents which are at these latitudes. An example of this zone in the United States is the area between Missouri to lower New York and East Texas to Florida. The temperature ranges from 75 degrees Fahrenheit to 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer months to 27 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter months. The total average precipitation is 30 to 60 inches or more. During the summer months, convectional rainfall is common and thunderstorms frequent. In the winter, the rain is more widespread and is usually associated with passing mid-latitude cyclones. The wind has a great influence in this area. The area is affected by both the prevailing westerlies and eastern trade winds. During the summer, the winds are influenced by eastern moist maritime air mass flows. Winters are influenced by westerly continental polar air flows. The weather is also influenced by low latitudes. The equatorial current which turns poleward forms warm currents, Gulf Stream and Japanese and Brazilian, that parallel the coasts. The marine west coast climate, figure 8-9, is sometimes referred to as the temperate oceanic climate. This climate is generally between 40 and 60 degrees north and south latitudes, on the west side of the continent. Examples are the west coasts of Washington to Alaska, Chile, nearly all of Europe, and New Zealand. The summer months are cool with average temperatures of 60 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The winter months are mild with temperatures averaging 27 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The total average rainfall ranges from 20 to 200 inches. Since the maritime climates are under the influence of the westerly winds all year, rainfall is nearly uniform from season to season. These climates are probably cloudier than any other. They are characterized by widespread stratus and nimbostratus clouds and frequent fog. One of the main reasons for the tremendous rainfall in these climatic areas is the warm ocean currents. These currents yield moisture to the air which is blown inland by the westerly winds. Middle latitude desert and steppe climates of complex origins are found generally between latitudes 35 to 50 degrees and in the interior of Asia and North America. Mountain ranges serve as barriers to the moist maritime air masses, thus resulting in low levels of precipitation. In the summer, these interiors generate tropical air masses, while in winter they are overrun by polar air masses originating in Canada and Siberia. Deserts are also characterized by considerable differences between the average summer and winter temperatures. Of greater importance are the vast semi-dry steppes. Their annual precipitation of 10 to 20 inches supports short grass vegetation. They comprise the great sheep and cattle ranges of the world, for example. The veldt of South Africa and the American Great Plains support vast numbers of animals. The Mediterranean climate is sometimes referred to as subtropical dry summer climate. It is generally located from 30 to 45 degrees north and south latitudes. Examples of this climate occur in the Mediterranean region, most notably Spain, Italy, and Greece. Summer temperatures usually average 75 degrees Fahrenheit to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but in coastal locations near cool currents, the average is 5 degrees Fahrenheit to 10 degrees Fahrenheit lower. Typical temperature averages for the coldest months are 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Coastal locations are usually somewhat warmer in the winter than inland locations. Total annual rainfall is normally 15 to 30 inches along the equatorial margins and increases poleward. This climate is a transitional zone between the dry west coast desert and the wet west coast climate. The westerly winds and cold ocean currents are the controlling influences of the Mediterranean climate. An example of a cold current which affects climates is the Humboldt Current, Peru Current, along the coast of Chile, Peru, and California. Major topographical characteristics found in temperate regions include mountains. Areas of steep slopes with local relief of more than 2,000 feet. Examples of this. Copyright National Park Service. 123. Landform are the Rocky Mountains of North America, the Andes Mountains of South America, and the Himalayan Mountains of Asia. High tablelands. Upland surfaces over 5,000 feet in elevation and having local relief of less than 1,000 feet, except where cut by widely separated canyons such as the high tableland of the Wyoming Basin. Hills and low tablelands. Hill areas having local relief of more than 325 feet, but less than 2,000 feet. At the ocean shoreland, however, local relief may be as low as 200 feet. A low tableland is an area less than 5,000 feet in elevation with local relief less than 325 feet, but which, unlike plains, either does not reach the sea or where it does, terminates in a bluff overlooking a low coastal plain. Examples of this terrain can be found in the Appalachian Mountains, Quebec, and southern Argentina. Plains. Surfaces with local relief of less than 325 feet. On the marine side, the surface slopes gently to the sea. Plains rising continuously inland may attain elevations of high plains over 2,000 feet. The greatest expanses of plains occur in the center of the North American continent, Eastern Europe, and Western Asia, Figure 810. Depressions. Basins surrounded by mountains, hills, or tablelands which abruptly outline the basins. Examples of depressions can be found in the southwestern United States. There are several biomes of plants and animal life within the temperature zone, and the characteristic life forms are dependent upon climatic characteristics within a specific area. The biomes are named for the plants most plentiful in the area. Coniferous forests occur in a broad band across the northern portions of the continents of North America, Europe, and Asia. The northern boundary is the tundra and the southern limits are generally around 50 degrees north latitude. However, this zone extends down to 35 degrees north latitude in the mountainous regions of the western North American continent. This biome corresponds with the humid continental climate, except in the mountainous portions of North America below 50 degrees north latitude. The main life forms in this zone are the conifers or needle-leaf, cone-producing trees, such as pines, firs, spruces, and hemlock. In these areas, the trees may grow closer together, not being severely limited by a need for sunlight, and are subject to frequent fires caused by lightning. When this occurs, the ecological succession is reversed, allowing low shrubs to spring up in the burned-over areas. Although the conifer is the predominant tree, there is more subclimax or secondary growth in these biomes than in climax forests, mature or primary forests. In these areas, the pines, alders, aspen, and poplars are the dominant trees. The dominant shrubs are heather, small maples, and yews. Deciduous, broad-leaved forests are found extensively in the eastern portion of the United States, in Europe, between 40 to 50 degrees north latitude, and also in eastern portions of Russia, China, Korea, and Japan from 35 to 50 degrees north latitude. This biome corresponds with the subtropic and humid continental climatic zones, the area in which any deciduous forest group determine the predominant trees or climax vegetation found there. For example, in north-central United States, beech and maple trees assume the dominant role. In Wisconsin and Minnesota, it is basswood and maple. In the eastern and southern regions, the dominant trees are oak and hickory. There are also spots in this biome where pines and broadleaf evergreens grow. Deciduous and mixed deciduous coniferous forests manifest the following characteristics. Warm summer with rain, winters cold and drier, short drought periods. Only 3 stories of vegetation, trees, scrubs, herbs. Broadleaf trees without leaves in winter. Mature trees, uniform in height. Unimpeded view into interior of forest. Few herbs, ferns, mosses in summer, and abundance of edible fungi in spring and autumn. Trunks of trees covered with thick fissured, dark-colored bark. Resting buds enclosed in hard scaly protecting leaves frequently covered with gum or resin. For the most part, leaves are thin and delicate, rarely thick and leathery like those of tropical rainforest trees. The deciduous and mixed deciduous coniferous forests that predominate over much of eastern United States are typical of this vegetation type. The deciduous forest is wholly temperate in character. By contrast with the tropical evergreen forest with its richly shaded but chiefly dark glossy green canopy, the broadleaf temperate forest extends in a uniformly bright green expanse. The temperate deciduous and mixed deciduous coniferous forest vegetation type occupies extensive areas in several parts of the world, Figure 8.12. North America. Eastern United States. South America. Southern Chile, southeastern Brazil. Europe. Western and Northern Europe, southern Scandinavia, southeastern Europe, Balkans. Asia. South-central Siberia, southeastern Siberia and part of Manchuria, Korea, throughout, Japan, throughout, China, throughout except the extreme south and extreme north. Oceania. New Zealand. The prairie and steppe areas, Figure 8.13, are very closely related. However, the true prairie supports a somewhat different flora than the steppe areas due to the difference in precipitation found in each. In both steppes and prairies, the precipitation comes during the short growing season, spring. Summers are hot with intermittent showers. Prairie, 30–40 inches of rainfall per year with permanently moist subsoil. Steppe, 15–30 inches of rainfall per year with permanently dry subsoil. The part of Russia extending from the Volga River through Central Asia to the Gobi Desert has been referred to as the steppes. However, as a vegetation type, the steppe grasslands occur in many other parts of the world. The rainfall in steppe areas averages 15 to 30 inches per year, as compared to prairie areas which average 30 to 40 inches per year. The general aspect of a steppe area, like the prairie, is a broad treeless expanse of open countryside which may be quite rolling in places. The main plants in these biomes are grasses. Due to different conditions, various characteristic grasses grow in specific areas on the prairies. The tall grasses are found near the edges of deciduous forests where larger amounts of water are available. The mid-grasses grow farther west, close to the Great Basin within the United States, with short grasses growing in the rain shadows of the mountains. Wildflowers and other annuals are found throughout these regions.
These biomes occur in Southern California, in countries around the Mediterranean Sea, and in southern portions of Australia and correspond with the Mediterranean climate, figure 8.14. The major life form in this area is vegetation composed of broad-leaved evergreen shrubs, bushes, and trees usually less than 8 feet tall. This vegetation generally forms thickets. Sage and evergreen oaks are the dominant plants in North America in areas with rainfall between 20 and 30 inches. Areas with less rainfall or poorer soil have fewer, more drought-resistant shrubs such as manzanita. Scrub forest vegetation becomes extremely dry by late summer. The hot, quick fires that commonly occur during this period are necessary for germination of many shrub seeds and also serve to clear away dense ground cover. This ground cover is difficult for the survivor to penetrate. The branches are tough, wiry, and difficult to bend. Trees are usually widely scattered, except where they occur in groves near a stream. Usually, both trees and shrubs have undivided leaves. Grasses and brightly colored spring flowering bulbs and other flowers may also be found. The IP will find relatively few kinds of edible plant food within the scrub forest. If forced to survive in these areas for long periods, especially in winter, the IP will find that edible food plants are scarce. In the temperate environment, edible plants are widely varied with bulbs, seeds, resins, cattail, chicory, fiddlehead fern, sorrel and others available. A general characteristic of a climax forest is the stratification of layers of plant growth similar to the canopy systems in the tropical rainforest. In a climax forest, there are usually a limited number of flowering plants, ferns, and shrubs for ground cover. More information is available in the sustenance chapter and through self-study. On the fringes of a desert, desert plants may have moved into the grasslands. The following are some examples of food plants found in the steppes: sweet acacia, baobab, cattail, wild onion, and wild dock. Other examples and specific information can be found in the sustenance chapter and through self-study. Animal life associated with deciduous forests is more varied and plentiful than in evergreen forests, though some animals such as certain species of deer, squirrels, martens, lynx, and wild cats are common in both areas. Wolves, foxes, and other small carnivores, flesh-eating animals, feed mainly on small rodents. Some forest dwellers, such as rodents, dig their dens below the ground while other dens are dug near streams where food and shelter are found. In the aquatic environment, the beaver builds dams for food and shelter. Muskrat, otter, and mink also seek the water's edge, while snakes, turtles, and frogs are found in the streams or lakes. In the steppes, common herbivores of the prairies are ground squirrels, prairie dogs, rabbits, gophers, and a great many species of mice that can be used for sustenance. A number of birds nest among the grasses. These include the meadowlark, prairie chicken, and grouse. During the dry season, some of these birds migrate to places better suited to raising their young. Insects like grasshoppers are well adapted to a grassland environment. The natural enemies of such insects are birds and reptiles, which in turn become the prey of owls and hawks. Deer and birds usually inhabit these forests only during the wet season, which is the growth period for most scrub forest plants. Small dull-colored animals such as lizards, rabbits, chipmunks, and quail are year-round residents. The majority of the world's population is found in the temperate zones of the world and may be a benefit or hazard to the IP. As with other environments, high density of populations are often found near coastal areas, rivers, and lakes. Snow climates are defined as the interior continental areas of the two great land masses of North America and Eurasia that lie between 35 and 70 degrees north latitude. The tree line provides the best natural boundary for a topographical description of the snow climate areas. There are definite differences between the forest area to the south and the tundra to the north in snow cover characteristics, wind conditions, animal types, and vegetation. Snow climates are comprised of two separate climate types, continental subarctic and humid continental. The continental subarctic climate is one of vast extremes. The temperature may range from -108 degrees Fahrenheit to +110 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperatures may also fluctuate 40 to 50 degrees within a few hours. This area includes several climate subtypes. The largest areas run from Alaska to Labrador and Scandinavia to Siberia. They are cold, snowy forest climates, moist all year, with cool, short summers. A colder climate is found in northern Siberia, which has very cold winters with an average cold temperature of -36 degrees Fahrenheit. Another area is found in northeastern Asia, where the climate is a cold, snowy forest climate with dry winters. Winter is the dominant season of the continental subarctic climate. Because freezing temperatures occur for 6 to 7 months, all moisture in the ground is frozen to a depth of many feet. The humid continental climates are generally located between 35 and 60 degrees north latitude. For the most part, these climates are located in central and eastern parts of continents of the middle latitudes. These climates are battle zone of polar and tropical air masses. Seasonal contrasts are strong and the weather is highly variable. In North America, this climate extends from New England westward beyond the Great Lakes region into the Great Plains and into the prairie provinces of Canada. This climate can also be found in Central Asia. The summers are cooler and shorter than in any other climate in the temperate zone with the exception of the highland, alpine, subarctic climate. The summer temperatures range from 60 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The winter temperatures range from -15 degrees Fahrenheit to +26 degrees Fahrenheit. The precipitation for the year varies from 10 to 40 inches. A higher percentage of the precipitation is snow, with less snow occurring in areas along the coasts. The weather is influenced by the polar easterly winds and the subtropical westerly winds. The effect of ocean currents on this continental climate is minimal. This climate is dominated by the high or low pressure cells centered in interiors of the continent. Both climate regions have seasonal extremes of daylight and darkness resulting from the tilt of the Earth's axis. Snow climate nights are long, even continuous in winter. Conversely, north of the Arctic Circle, the sun is visible at midnight at least once a year. Darkness presents a number of problems to the survivor. No heat is received directly from the sun in midwinter, thus the cold reaches extremes. Outside activities are limited to necessity, although the light from the moon, stars, and auroras, shining on a light ground surface, is of some help. Confinement to cramped quarters adds boredom to discomfort, and depression becomes a dominant mood as time drags on. Fortunately, the period of complete darkness does not last long.
The terrain of the snow climate areas coincides with a great belt of needle-leaf forests. This region is found in the higher middle latitudes. Its poleward side usually borders on tundra and its southern margin usually adjoins continental temperate climates. This area is like the tundra because it has poor drainage. As a result, there are an abundance of lakes and swamps. The coastlines vary from gentle plains sweeping down to the ocean to steep, rugged cliffs. Glaciers are a predominant feature of the high altitudes, 6,000 feet elevation or above. These glaciers flow down to lower elevations or terminate at the ocean. There are 3 separate climates in the category of ice climates: marine subarctic climate, tundra climate, and ice cap climate. Key characteristics of this climate are the persistence of cloudy skies and strong winds, sometimes in excess of 100 miles per hour, and a high percentage of days with precipitation. The region lies between 50 and 60 degrees north latitude and 45 to 60 degrees south latitude. The marine subarctic climate is found on the windward coasts, on islands, and over wide expanses of ocean in the Bering Sea and the North Atlantic, touching points of Greenland, Iceland, and Norway. In the southern hemisphere, this climate is found on small land masses. The tundra region lies north of 55 degrees north latitude and south of 50 degrees south latitude. The average temperature of the warmest month is below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Proximity to the ocean and persistent cloud cover keep summer temperatures down despite abundant solar energy at this latitude near the summer solstice. There are three vast regions of ice on the Earth. They are Greenland and Antarctic continental ice caps and the larger area of floating sea ice in the Arctic Ocean. The continental ice caps differ in various ways, both physically and climatically, from the polar sea ice and can be treated separately. The largest island in the world is Greenland. Most of the island lies north of the Arctic Circle and ice covers about 85% of it. The warmest region of the island is in the southwestern coast. The average summer temperature is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The coldest region is the center of the ice cap. The temperature there averages minus 53 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter. The Antarctic lies in a unique triangle formed by South America, Africa, and Australia. Surrounding the continent are portions of the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. The area is almost entirely enclosed by the Antarctic Circle. The climate is considered as one of the harshest in the world. The average temperature remains below 0 degrees Fahrenheit all year. In the winter months, the mean temperature is from minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Winter temperatures inland often drop below 100 of. Great storms and blizzards, with accompanying high winds, range over the entire area due to both the continent's great elevation and by being completely surrounded by warm ocean water. Ice on the Arctic Ocean includes frozen seawater and icebergs that have broken off glaciers. This ice remains frozen near the North Pole year-round. Near the coast, the sea ice melts during the summer. Currents, tides, and winds may cause it to fold and form high ridges called pressure ridges. One piece of ice may slide over another, causing a formation called drafted ice. When the ice breaks into sections separated by water, these sections are called leads. Great explosions and rolling thunder are caused by the breaking and folding of the ice. The terrain of the true ice climates encompasses nearly every variation known. Much of the landmass is composed of tundra. In its true form, the tundra is treeless. Vast rugged mountain ranges are found in the area and rise several thousand feet above the surrounding areas. Steep terrain, snow and ice fields, glaciers, and very high wind conditions make this area a very desolate place. Continental glaciers such as the ice caps covering Greenland and the Antarctic continent are large expanses of wind-swept ice moving slowly toward the sea. Ice thickness in continental glacier areas can exceed 10,000 feet. In Russia, the area surrounding the Lena River is known as a typical shrub tundra environment. Shrubs, herbs, and mosses occur in this zone. Arctic birch predominates, but other shrubs occur and several may be useful as supplementary food such as the crystal tea ledum, Labrador tea, willows, and the bog bilberry. In the same shrub zone a lower herbaceous layer occurs which is composed of black crowberry, several grasses, and the cowberry. On the ground, mosses and lichens are present in abundance. The shrubs on the open tundra reach a height of only 3 to 4 feet, but in valleys and along the rivers, the same shrubs may reach the height of a person. The region immediately adjoining the treeless tundra is an extension of the coniferous areas of the south. These subarctic wooded areas include a variety of tree species of which the genus Picea, spruce, predominates. On the Koland Peninsula of northeastern Scandinavia, these northernmost forests are birch. Siberian spruce occurs between the White Sea and the Urals. Siberian larch occurs between the Urals and the Pyasina River. Siberian larch occurs between the Pyasina River and the upper reaches of the Amity River. In extreme northeastern Asia, Mongolian poplar, Korean willow, and birch are found along the rivers. The trees extending into the tundra are distinguished by their stunted growth, except in river valleys where they reach 18 to 24 feet, and sparseness. Permanent ground frost, or permafrost, penetrates most parts of the true tundra, and the northern limits of the forest belt closely coincide with the southern limits of permafrost. A few different plants will cover very large areas, so that extensive stands of a single variety of plant are common in the Arctic tundra. All tundra plants are small in stature compared to the plants in the warmer climates of more southerly latitudes. The Arctic willow and birch, for instance, spread along the ground in the tundra to form large mats. Stunted growth in all the woody plants is the rule, although there are many evergreen plants and hardy bulbous or tuberous plants. Lichens, especially reindeer mouse, are widespread in the tundra. As mentioned before, the plant life of the tundra is remarkably uniform in its distribution. Some species are common to all three areas, but other species are more restricted in their distribution. The tundra also contains many species of vegetation found in the forest regions to the south. The tundra has often been classified as a continuous bog, but this is far from the truth. Many bogs do exist. There are also many hilly and even mountainous areas with considerably drier soil. The moss or sphagnum bog is less common than the sedge bog. A characteristic of more southern tundra is the development of large peat mounds 9 to 15 feet high and 15 to 75 feet in diameter. These mounds have been formed by ground upheavals caused by freezing water. Many edible plants grow on these bog mounds, such as the cloudberry, dwarf Arctic birch, bog bilberry, black crowberry, crystal teledum, sheathed cotton sedge, cowberry, and others. The vegetation is similar to that found in more temperate zones. However, the cold temperatures have caused variations in the physical appearance of the plants. Dark evergreen forests thrive south of the tree line. They consist mainly of cedar, spruce, fir, and pine, mingled with birch. These subarctic forests are called taigas. A transitional zone lies between the taiga and the tundra. In this zone, the trees are sparse and seldom grow over 40 feet tall. Dwarf willow, birch, and alder mix with evergreens, and reindeer moss sometimes forms a thick carpet. Depending on the time of year and the place, chances for attaining animal food vary considerably. Shorelines are normally scraped clean of all animals and plants by winter ice. Inland animals are migratory. Caribou and reindeer migrate throughout northern Canada and Alaska. In northern Siberia, they migrate inland to almost 50 degrees north latitude. Some are found in West Greenland. All move close to the sea or into the high mountains in summer. In winter, they feed on the tundra. Musk oxen may be found in northern Greenland and on the islands of the Canadian archipelago. Sheep descend to lower elevations and to valley feeding grounds in the winter. Wolves usually run in pairs or groups. Foxes are solitary and are seen most frequently when mice and lemming are abundant. Bears are dangerous, especially when wounded, startled, or with their young. They generally shun areas of human habitation. Tundra animals include snowshoe and Arctic hare, lemming, mice, and ground squirrels. Compared to other parts of the world, animal life is poor in species but rich in numbers. Large animals such as caribou, reindeer, and musk oxen migrate through the tundra areas. Carnivores wolves, foxes, lynx, wolverines, and bears range through the landmass area, and polar bears, seals, walruses, and foxes are found far out on the sea ice. Small animals are the most abundant animal life found and include hares, lemmings, marmots, mink, fishers, and porcupines. Bird life is very limited during the winter months, mainly owls and ptarmigan, but during the summer months millions of migratory waterfowl nest in the Arctic tundra. Species include ducks, geese, cranes, loons, and swans, nesting in and around the swamps, bogs, and lakes of the tundra. The coastal areas are home for many species of seabirds during the summer months. The coastal waters and ice flows are rich in a variety of marine life such as seals, walruses, whales, crustaceans, and fishes. Although often overlooked due to the temperature range of the snow and ice climates, insects can range from a nuisance to debilitating in this environment. Depending on the time of year, mosquitoes and other flying insects can be as thick as to obscure vision. IP need to dress for the environment and be prepared to protect themselves. The freshwater rivers, lakes, and streams may be teeming with many varieties of fish, salmon, trout, and grayling dependent on the time of year. Due to the amount of surface water in the tundra area, there are a large variety of insects. Some 40 to 60 species of mosquitoes, flies, and gnats inhabit the area. In the Antarctic, animals are virtually non-existent. Only the lowest forms of animal life can live mainly on mosses and lichens. Marine animals, particularly whales, seals, and penguins, are found along the coastal regions. Seabirds are abundant in the summer and nest on the coastal regions and the islands. There are a few species of wingless insects, lice, ticks, mites, etc., which live off the bird population. Density is lower due to the climate, but larger groups may be found around natural resources, water sources, coastal areas, and lines of communication. IP may also see dwellings found along animal migratory routes. These dwellings may be deserted for months on end and could provide shelter. Thank you for watching.
Bravo, signor padrone! Ora incomincio a capire il mistero e a veder schieto tutto il vostro progetto. A Londra è vero, voi ministro, io corriero, e la Susanna, segreta ambasciatrice, non sarà, Figaro il dice. Se vuol ballare, signor Contino, se vuol ballare, signor Contino, il chitarrino le suonerà. Il chitarrino le suonerà, sì, le suonerà, sì, le suonerà. Se vuol venire nella mia scuola, la capriola le insegnerà. Se vuol venire nella mia scuola, la capriola le insegnerà, sì, le insegnerà, sì, le insegnerà. Saprà, ma piano, l'ogni arcano dissimulando scoprir potrà. L'arte schermendo, l'arte doprando, di qua pungendo, di là scherzando, tutte le macchine rovescerò. L'arte schermendo, l'arte doprando, di qua pungendo, di là scherzando, tutte le macchine rovescerò, tutte le macchine rovescerò, tutte le macchine rovescerò. Se vuol ballare, signor Contino, se vuol ballare, signor Contino, il chitarrino le suonerà. Il chitarrino le suonerà, sì, le suonerà, sì, le suonerà.